Good evening, and thank you for attending. My name is Natalie Sayre, and I'll be the moderator for this evening's debate. Before we begin, please silence all phones and electronic devices. Additionally, please refrain from any interruptions to the debate as it is being recorded for on-demand viewing and post-captioning services. The Citizens Clean Elections Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform and public education measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. The system provides clean funding for qualified participating candidates who agreed to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules. These include contribution and spending limits, foregoing special interest money, and participating in commission debates. We encourage audience questions, so please utilize the note card that was given to you when you entered, and hold it up when you're ready for your question to be collected. Our volunteers will pick them up, deliver them to me. If you need additional cards, just raise your hand. If you have questions for a specific candidate, please include the candidate's name on the note card. It will be considered during the second half of the debate. We screen questions for clarity to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal attacks on candidates. The debate is scheduled for up to an hour and a half, so we may not get to all audience questions, but we will do our best. Tonight's debate includes 1-minute opening statements. The first half of the debate begins with 2 minutes to each candidate to answer the same question. After all candidates have responded to the question, the first responding candidate will be given an additional 30 seconds. We will rotate which candidate responds first. The second half will allow for a different question per candidate with 1 minute to answer. And finally, 1-minute closing statements. We ask that you remain polite to all candidates and give them a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with what is being said. Tonight's participants are Ms. Wendy Garcia, a Democratic candidate for State Senator, District 22. Clean elections or not clean elections? Ma'am?
Yes, absolutely.
Clean elections. Clean elections candidate. Mr. Claire Van Steenwyk, Republican candidate for State Senator, District number 22. Ms. Brianna Westbrook, a Democratic candidate for State Senator in District 22. Mr. Matthew Bullock, Republican candidate for State Representative in District 22. Mr. Frank Carroll, Republican Clean Elections participant, State Representative candidate for District 22. Ms. Kelly Ingen, Republican Clean Elections participant, a candidate for State Representative of District 22. And finally, Mr. John Heap, Republican candidate, Clean Elections candidate for State Representative in District 22. The order in which the candidates will speak has been determined by alphabetical order, starting with the last name, beginning with the Senate. The opening comments will progress from that starting point. The order for the second half will be determined by reverse alphabetical order by last name, starting with the House. Ms. Garcia, will you start the opening remarks, please?
Yes, thank you. Hello, my name is Wendy Garcia, and I want to be your next senator here in Legislative District 22. I'd certainly like to thank the Clean Elections Commission. I'd like to thank the moderator tonight, Ms. Sayre, thank you. Also, the venue, Hampton Inn. But most especially, thank you for being here tonight. Special interest groups are corrupting Arizona with too much money, and politicians don't listen. They just don't listen to everyday people, so that's what we need, a person, not a politician, who will listen to we, the people. That is why I am running as a clean elections candidate. The Wendy Garcia campaign for Arizona State Senate will serve by and for the people. The goals are to restore democracy, to improve public schools, to expand on healthcare coverage, and to increase good-paying jobs. Again, I'm Wendy Garcia for Arizona State Senate here in Legislative District 22. I appreciate your votes, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Steenwyk, your
Yes, my name
opening
is Claire
statement.
Van Steenwyk. I'm running for the Senate seat in LD 22. I've been an active Republican since I was actually 9 years old when I worked on Dwight David Eisenhower's reelection campaign in 1956. I'm a retired, successful businessman, entrepreneur, and political talk show host. My wife and myself also ran a Christian outreach in Bellflower, California, Skid Row, and down into Mexico in our spare time. The main reason I'm running for this office, quite frankly, is because I don't believe we're being served very well. We're constantly hearing from everybody how well they do and how responsible they are and how they balance the budget. And all I have to say is in the last 6 years, the state's now in more debt than it was before. That's not a balanced budget. They keep telling us they're going to fix education. They pour millions of dollars into it, and it's not being fixed because they don't ever change the statutes that allow the money to go where it's supposed to go, which is the classroom. These things have to be fixed and can be fixed by people that don't care about getting reelected. And that's the problem we have today. The only sad thing I see today is the two people that are elected in this district didn't even bother showing up.
Thank you. Ms. Westbrook.
Thank you, everyone, for attending this tonight. My name is Brianna Westbrook. I am a social justice activist and a champion for public education. I am originally from the Phoenix metropolitan area. I grew up in poverty, climbed my way through multiple layers of social and economic classes to becoming one of the top sales managers at my dealership in the Southwest region. I first stepped into politics in 2013 when I spoke in front of Phoenix City Council for an anti-discrimination measure for LGBT people and people with disabilities. In city contracts, housing, and employment accommodations. I have continued my fight for every Arizonan by working with Save Our Schools and the Outlaw Dirty Money initiatives. My goal is to increase funding for our public schools, protect affordable health care, and modernize our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
Well, good evening. My name is Matt Bullock. I am a father of 6, ages 18 to 26. We just welcomed our second grandchild, so the reason you have kids, we found out. I attended the University of Arizona, and I graduated with a bachelor's in economics and a minor in chemistry and a minor in biology. I was elected from an election experience in 2012 to the Peoria School District Governing Board. I served as the president of the board in 2015 and 2016. I've been a small business owner for 27 years. I've created hundreds of jobs in the hospitality, restaurant, as well as the technology sector where I exist today. The 3 areas I'm really strong on that I want to work for as the House of Representatives is correctly funding education, of course, not over, not under. Also small business and economic development, because ultimately our taxes are lowered through an increase in our economy. And of course, I'll be one of the only candidates, and if elected, one of the only representatives with technology and cybersecurity experience, which I believe over the next several years, the digital economy and cybersecurity will actually be one of the big stress topics of our state. So I'll bring that experience as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carroll.
Hello, my name's Frank Carroll. I'm a resident of Sun City West. My background in politics, I've been involved in the Republican Party for probably close to 20 plus years. I've been a resident here for 25 years, originating from Chicago. My background has been in the automotive industry. I started out as a line mechanic up in Chicago. I've been a working class guy the whole time of my life, and currently the technologies today that are present are bringing us into artificial intelligence, some very advanced vehicle systems that are going to be an impact on our future here. My thing about Arizona is we need to grow our economy. We need to grow our tax base here so that we can have enough revenue to cover the things that it costs to make our state do well. I'm a supporter for better education for our kids, accountability in that, and safety as well. And I have quite a few ideas now. You can reach me at ld22team.com or my website, which is where you can reach me directly, myvotecarroll.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ingen.
Hi, my name is Kelly Ingen. I'm a mom of 2 boys and a nurse. I've been a nurse for 17 years. And I was running simply because I wanted to give a voice to my platform, which is healthcare and education. However, what I didn't expect along the way is the tactics that some of my fellow Republican opponents have been using to help get me out of the race. So on Saturday, I received a phone call from a lobbyist who said that he worked for 3 of my fellow people in LD District 22 and encouraged me that I should roll the dice. I shouldn't roll the dice, or I could choose to roll the dice and step out now, or Or I should just, which was his suggestion, just save face and tell the people that I'm dropping out because I have family commitments. So I just encourage you to please do your due diligence and check with the people who are running, because really the people that you want are not the people who already have lobbyists in their back.
Thank you. Mr. Heap.
My name is John Heap. I'm running for House of Representatives, LD 22. I'm here to commit to you, pledge you my support, and the support to the Constitution of the United States. My website is johnheap.com. Please look it up, and please vote for me. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. At this time, we will begin the portion of the debate where each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the same question. Remember, you can continue to submit questions throughout the debate. Just hold your cards up and we'll collect them. And you will be able to direct questions to candidates, and that will be considered in the second half of the debate. Mr. Van Steenwyk, we'll start with you. So what are your top priorities if elected, and what would be the first piece of legislation you would want to submit?
Well, a couple of years ago, me and a group of people in LD 22, a legislative writing committee, wrote a bill to protect our children from the data collection they're going through Common Core. The bill, we got written up, we got it through the Senate Education Committee, but somehow or another they managed to kill it later on. The thing that bothers me the most about it, and I know this upsets people, is it wasn't killed by the Democrats. It was killed by the Republicans, and that's sad. Education is very important in our children. They don't get it now. I talk to kids, I just talked to some kids the other day. I'm talking to kids that are 19 and 20 that can hardly read, and they were educated their whole lives here. We keep pouring money into education, and it's not working. It's kind of like putting gas in a steam engine. It'll never start. Education needs to be revamped. We need to bring a lot of things back into the educational system, like trade school things. Not after they get out of school. Bring shops back into schools. Unify and do work with other companies, whether they are mechanics, air conditioning companies, it doesn't matter, or tech companies. Let them be trained to do apprenticeships in high school. Not all kids are wired for college. I know that myself. And some of you probably do too. I had a very successful career without ever going to college. I managed multi-million-dollar corporations. I had clients like Walmart's and Costco's, and I did that most of my life. So I know there are children that, given a chance, can do better than they do. But we don't want to seem to do that. We're farming our education out as far as trades go to these new things they're doing now. I want them back in the high schools and the junior highs where they belong, when the kid is in the school. I want gym back in the schools. I want us to have responsibility, and we need to change some of the state statutes so when they decide to pour money in education, some superintendent doesn't get to decide where it goes, because there's a disbursement factor there. And until they change that state statute, that superintendent still gets to decide where the money goes, no matter what someone tells you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Westbrook.
Thank you for the question. My top 3 priorities are pretty cut and dry here. Number 1 would be to cut corporate tax loopholes. We have a deplorable amount of corporate tax loopholes in the state of Arizona. The most obscene one is the 4-inch pipe tax loophole. If you're not familiar with it, get ready. If you buy a 3-inch pipe from Home Depot, you will pay sales tax. If you buy a 5-inch pipe at Home Depot, you'll pay sales tax. But if you buy a 4-inch pipe, you are tax exempt. We have thousands upon thousands of loopholes in our budget. We are losing millions of dollars each and every single year. We have the lowest corporate tax revenue since 1993 in the state of Arizona. So when they tell you we don't have money to fund education, they're lying to you. We have money to fund education. So number 1 would be closing those tax loopholes and investing in our education system. It is deplorable where our education system ranks as a country compared to other states. I'd like to limit our classroom sizes to 25 children. Recently, I ran for the U.S. House of Representatives and traveled throughout this congressional district. I met a teacher that told me they have 42 kids in their government class. 42 kids. How can you learn in that environment? I'd like to cap it at 25 and make sure teachers have the tools necessary to give our children the best education possible for they can be leaders for tomorrow. Children make up 25% of Legislative District 22. I'd also like to extend mass transit to the West Valley. Being in a dealership, I work at a car dealership on the corner of 84th Avenue and Bell. We don't have a bus system that travels there. We've missed opportunities to sell people vehicles simply because they cannot get there. So I'd like to bring the bus system to the Northwest Valley. I'd also like to find a way that we can get the light rail here as well. I could cut off.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
3 priorities, definitely the economy, because ultimately nobody wants to pay more than they have to pay in taxes, obviously. Growing our small business economy, because that is the fabric that makes our economy go, and then all large businesses are attracted because of small business opportunities. Second thing, of course, is education. Having served on the Peoria School Board, I saw firsthand exactly where the money is coming from or not coming from and how it's being spent. Interestingly enough, the number one reason that businesses do or do not come here is ultimately the worker pool. A good example, Apple Computer just bought a new data center down in Chandler, and although it was exciting, brought 800 jobs, about 600 of those came from out of state. Of course, out of state is fine. They come here and buy homes and cars, but wouldn't it be wonderful if these businesses moved here to tap into the amazing talent that Arizona has? I love Arizona. I see incredible things, incredible opportunities for this state. But we have to correctly fund education because that is workforce development. If workforce development is taken seriously, our economy will strengthen and ultimately lower taxes for everybody. That's worked time and time again. Second thing, of course, is cybersecurity and technology that I hit on. I honestly believe in the next 5 years that will be one of the top stress points for our state. The city of Atlanta was shut down. The state of Rhode Island was shut down. Los Angeles was shut down because of cybersecurity attacks. One of the first pieces of legislation I'd work on is a disaster recovery plan for the state of Arizona. If something were to happen to compromise our digital security, which will happen at some point, unfortunately, we need to have a disaster recovery plan, and I will spearhead that to save our economy.
Thank you. Mr. Carroll.
Thank you. Answer that question. I'll do it. There's three things that I think of here. Number one is the education aspect. I think the man brought it up about vocational education, alternatives to college. There's a wealth of young people out there that can fulfill jobs and fulfill service and needs out here as well. And I've, in my history of being around Chicago area and down here, I've seen this come and go, wane and ebb, periods like that. And it's about time it comes back here as an alternative. In terms of accountability about the money that goes to school, we definitely need to raise sufficient funds for schools to operate. It needs to be judiciously and, of course, make sure there's full accountability about that money and the direction. We do have people in administrative capacities that are responsible for that money, and there should be some accountability back to the legislature from that side of the tax equation. As far as mass transportation that was mentioned here too, I work quite a bit with the direction that autonomy is taking place, and I think that is quite a replacement for and a less expensive way to bring mass transit to our infrastructure here, retaining our roads. I think light rail demands a lot of construction and disruption of our cities as they are, but autonomy is one that we can do there. And, back to the school thing, I have a granddaughter that we had to take out and put in a charter school because she wasn't performing well. So that presents issues for parental choice. It also presents issues about how do we improve those situations, especially in the schools that she came from. So there's work to be done in those arenas.
Thank you. Ms. Ingen.
As stated earlier, I am a nurse and a mom of 2 boys, and so my biggest passions and what I've seen the most is the breakdown of our healthcare system and our education. In healthcare, one thing I would like to bring to the table is I think that we underutilize our nurse practitioners and our CRNAs and some other areas that would offer more quality care that's evidence-based to more people and be able to touch and reach more people so that everybody has quality to that access care. The second thing I would like to see with the healthcare is I would really like to work with whoever is our next U.S. Senator and really push the issue on the cost of prescriptive medications. As a nurse, I've seen families come in and, basically be on their deathbed because they didn't have medications that they needed to sustain their life with their diabetes or other areas. And I've also seen people come in saying that they bought medications off of Craigslist because they couldn't afford it, and who knows what's in there. And then finally, for education, I have a son who has a learning disability, and twice now, he's only just finished second grade, has had teachers drop out halfway through the year. And with that, obviously there's setbacks because you have to learn the system again, you have to learn his quirks, his things, and it's failing our children. And so one thing I would like to touch back on and revamp is our voucher system. Not take it away, but revamp it and add some things and components so that everybody can benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Heap?
As your representative, 4 things: reduction of government spending, stronger family values, reduction of government regulations, and growing private business. Now, my background is primarily business, and I've run for office, and you've elected me to be on the board of directors of Maricopa Community Colleges. We did a wonderful job within the last 2 years. The budget was brought in line from $2.2 billion down to 1.5 by just adding up what was really there and what was needed. We also lowered your taxes and also kept the tuition down. So as I take a look at LD 22 and the world we live in, it's a matter of our just adapting and controlling and being better providers and managers. So I want to say thank you. And again, please elect me.
All right. Ms. Garcia?
Hello. So my top 3 platform components: economy, healthcare, and education. Look, Arizona ranks in the bottom 10% of the country's standards for education, and I think that a great deal of that is due to inadequate pay for certified teachers. And that does go hand in hand with healthcare. We need strong, healthy, and smart children, which equates to a strong state. And now we're talking about jobs. The economy in Arizona is based on the 5 C's: cotton, copper, citrus, climate, and cattle. So I think we need to expand on this to include construction. We should also include computer industries and conservation. We live in the Valley of the Sun. Solar energy should be very important here. That would be my platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Steenwyk, your 30 seconds.
Let me start with the broadcast. My website is voteforvan.com. On that, you will find several issues I've written about, blog sites that I've been dealing with for years, and even some old radio shows where I used to interview all the people that ran for office. And at one point, I never ever thought I'd do this kind of stuff, but I got asked to do it quite a few years ago. Arizona has unique problems. It really does. I've traveled this whole country. I've been in a lot of different states for different periods of time, done a lot of different things with a lot of companies. We can fix a lot of things in this state if we have the will to do it, and we'll elect the people that don't care about getting reelected.
Thank you.
That's the bottom line.
Thank you. Our next question, Ms. Westbrook, we'll start with you. If elected, what would you do to bring industries to the west side?
Well, I have this really neat concept that I'd like to bring to Arizona that's really starting to sweep across the country, called municipal broadband. It's a public option to internet. So we see that we on average we pay anywhere from $60 to $70 a month to Cox and CenturyLink. I'd like to have a public option for internet, so we can have faster transactions in small businesses. That's something that I think will bring revenue to the West Valley if we invest in that, and it'll also put more money in middle-class families' pocketbooks, so they can put more money into the economy and purchase more goods and services from our small business owners. I'd also like to, like I said earlier, extend the mass transit. By doing that, we're going to create jobs and put people to work. So those are two things that I'd like to do that I think will bring revenue and jobs here to the Northwest Valley.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
I'm glad you asked that question. I love the West Side. I just finished last year the Leadership West program, graduated from that. I don't know if anyone here familiar with that. It's a year-long program to deep dive from experts in the West Valley, government, water, power, whatnot, to learn what does the West Valley, what are its challenges and its successes, and happy to report we have far more successes than challenges. What's very interesting, though, is the West Valley is known for really two things, a bedroom community, and everybody migrates at 7 o'clock in the morning over to the East Valley, and then they come back at night, and that's fine. We're also known as the warehouse district, and again, that's fine. We'll take any businesses. We're happy to do that, increase our tax base. We're happy to be the base for a lot of large growing companies. But I think what needs to happen, because the West Valley, it's really a blank slate. It's really a palette, with our palette that we can paint on there. We need to be very strong in higher education. The West Valley should be a destination for higher education. The West Valley should also be a strong destination for biotechnology and research and development. These are what we call quiet businesses that still allow us to maintain the niceness of our bedroom community, if you will, but put us on the map for technology, biotechnology, and higher education. Interestingly enough, the West Side was just chosen by Bill Gates and his foundation to build a smart city for the future. Why is that? Because the West Valley is a blank slate with an incredible opportunity, a strong willingness to grow, but also a strong willingness to handle and keep our culture alive, which has made the West Valley a nice place. The East Valley, obviously, is known for its many things with ASU and Intel and all these other organizations. The West Valley needs to become somewhat what the East Valley is without the traffic, without the congestion, and we do that by becoming a research and development and a higher education destination. There's incredible opportunities in the West Valley. I was able to see them firsthand, and I'd be very excited to be a part of bringing the West Valley to a strong economic head. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carroll.
Well, there's quite a bit that the West Valley has to offer here. There's a number of industries that are already out here, manufacturing, automotive as well. Toyota's out here, Ford's out here, a couple other operations that are taking place that are, they're out there. You can see them in the middle of the night. In terms of growing this side of town, this is going to take a cooperative effort between the cities that are here, Surprise in particular, Goodyear. They have a lot to offer in land, and I think the way that Matt described it, we have a kind of a blank palette here that we can work with and really build on. So the door is wide open for a lot of ideas that can come this way. In terms of the state government and its incentivizing or making the door, making it comfortable, we just have to closely look at our kind of regulations and make sure we're not interfering with businesses' ability to grow here. We have to make this a tax comfortable area as far as attracting businesses that we're competing with other states for. And the water is definitely a situation that can be addressed. There's a number of parties involved in that, but I think overall between that and maybe even expanding with the military on some other considerations here as well, we can do a lot of things to enhance the West Side. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to pause here and again remind the audience that we are still accepting questions, particularly candidate-directed questions. So just put the name of the candidate at the top of the card, hold it up, and our volunteer will come and retrieve it and bring it to me. Ms. Engen, your turn.
Well, I think of that old saying of if you build it, they will come, and I kind of relate that to to education for our opportunity to influence and attract other businesses to this area. And I think because the disarray of our education, that's a huge factor for corporations. They scout out states that have, strong educations where their company and where their executives can bring their children, and that's a huge draw for most of those big companies. And so I feel like one of the big things that we need to do is kind of fix that and create a better attraction for some of those companies to come in, to grow our education, to make it stronger, to make it not in disarray, and to show them that we have a lot to offer here. Our state is a beautiful state. We have a lot to give. And I think that by working on that, improving that, it's going to be a shoo-in for a lot of businesses to step in.
Thank you. And Mr. Heap?
That's a good question, and I've been waiting for you to ask me that for a long time. I was on the board of directors of Maricopa Community Colleges, and I'm currently on the board of automation and industrial automation of ASU, and we're how can I say it? We are very questioning of what we should do, because we have a conflict. We want you to ask us and want us to bring business into it because we're developing it. But your regulations in this area have stopped a lot of business. To give you numbers, East Phoenix, East Arizona, East Maricopa is 80%, has 80% of the business. West Side, 20% of the business. Do you want to expand it? Give me a call. This is a conundrum that we're working on. I go to the Chamber of Commerce. I open up the book, and they ask me, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, there's no one I could call on. There's Pizza Hut. There's so on and so forth. There's no one else. Please stimulate me. I'll help. We'll bring it. The capability, the education is here. We got 200 engineers that we could bring and move in this area." So just open for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia?
Can you repeat, please?
Yes. If elected, what would you do to bring more industries to the west side?
Well, I think improving public education here is cornerstone to economic growth on the west side. Look, as my colleague over here mentioned, we have a difficult time accommodating corporate interest here because of the work pool. I also think that if we increase public education's capacity to teach job skills, then we'll be laying a foundation to economic growth. This goes hand in hand with the two existing factions in our economy here on the west side, which are education and healthcare. I think we need to build on what exists here to keep people here. As most of us know, the traffic situation on the interstate and on Bell is pretty thick at times. So focusing here on the west side, generally improving the education system is going to grow our economy. And also, as it pertains to healthcare. Look, I believe in an expanded Medicaid system, and I don't know of any nurses or doctors that would disagree that that's economic health for that industry. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Mr. Van Steenwyk.
Yeah, I keep hearing about bringing business to the West Valley. Most of you are now familiar with the new 303 corridor. Vacant land on both sides. Perfect place for economic development for corporations. But unfortunately, too many people, when they talk about corporations, they're thinking about people that have got 5,000 people working for them. I worked in the food industry most of my life in California. One of the last companies I worked for hired me because they'd hit a wall. They couldn't make the company grow anymore. So we took the company, it was doing about $3 million a year, and in 3 short years, we built it up to over $27 million. We increased the employee base by about 10 times. We handled all the Ralph, Safeway, et cetera markets. It was a food manufacturer, and we set the distribution up and logistics. There are companies in California right now that have no more than 10 employees. Some have 50, but they're in the food business. And with all the taxation and other nonsense that's going on out there, plus all the regulations that California is notorious for, I know because I live there, they stifle business. Arizona needs to set up a commission, a group of people that would do nothing more, and I shared this with Governor Brewer, and I shared it with Governor Ducey and some other people at the Capitol. If you would just send some people to California to go to some of the food trade shows there, where some of these little companies bring their products, you could bring companies here when they're brand new and small and let them grow in the West Valley to multi-million-dollar companies. You don't have to have Raytheon or Northrop or some high-tech company. We have a lot of children in the West Valley, as I said earlier, that aren't college kids. I wasn't, but I did quite well without it. You bring the right kind of jobs to the West Valley, and they'll come from California. Remember, Highway 10 is a straight shot back, so a couple of trucks can send anything back there they want and then go east from here. We are in a perfect location. We have the perfect space to do it. All we have to do is have people willing to do the work with the brains to take the challenge. We can bring a lot of business here if we start looking at real business instead of the grandiose ideas of corporations.
Thank you. And Ms. Westbrook, your additional 30 seconds.
On that same question,
Yes.
well, bringing business to the West Valley, we can also do some other things. Like I'd like to see us invest in senior care facilities and programs. So retirement homes, that's something we could build and have some extra assistance to build it. I think that's putting people to work because you're building new buildings and new facilities, and you're driving people to the West Valley. You know, there's a big retirement community here in the West Valley, as we know, Sun City West. Cut off.
Thank you.
I follow the rules, man.
Thank you. So we've heard a lot about education. I have several different flavors of education, and I'm going to synthesize it into an education question. So how would you propose, from a legislative standpoint, fixing the education system? Standards, money to administration versus money to classrooms. How would you propose to fix the education system from a legislative perspective? Mr. Bullock, we'll start with you.
Wow, what a 3-day question that could be.
In 2 minutes.
No, that's near and dear to my heart. Again, as I mentioned, serving the Peoria School Board, and that's a be-all, end-all, but it gave a great eye-opening to what the problems really are and what the successes are. Peoria School District is one of the gems of the West Valley. It's actually the 4th largest district in the state. It actually has the highest graduation rate. I'm proud to say when I was on the board, as president of the board, I pushed for, we redirected some funding that was not for teachers, but for administration. We actually lowered our administrative rate by 1.2%, which on a $200 million budget is quite a lot. We redirected that to our career and technical education program 3 years ago. After a year and a half of putting a serious effort into that, the career and technical education program for the Peoria School District became the #1 CTE program in the entire state. It is now one of the top 20 in the entire country. Something to be very proud of in our own backyard. We all share in that success. Why do I bring that up? Because how do we fix the education system? Again, a long answer to that question. How is it really fixed? We look at the end goal. I'm a big believer in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You start with the end in mind. Our end goal is to produce students who are critical thinkers who will benefit the economy going forward. That's what we do. That's what teachers do. That's the magic that they work. How do we support them? We redirect our resources. We reduce the amount of regulation. Interestingly enough, teachers would spend an average of 28 to 30% of their day on non-teaching opportunities, reports filing, doing whatnot, everything. Almost 30% of their time was non-teaching. I would reduce that dramatically. We are over-testing our kids. We are over-reporting and regulating our teachers. They are very much held back from working the magic in the classroom. So strengthening our CTE program, because college is not for every kid. I think we're all good, old enough to admit that. and strengthening the time that teachers get to spend doing their magic and take away the regulation and the over-testing that we do in our state schools at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Carroll.
Well, let's change a little bit here and go a little differently approaching this, because I'm sure we're going to hear all the answers about what we can do to improve the classroom, from reducing regulations to better funding and so on. And just something that I ran across as an idea with a group of people I was talking to a short time ago. I said, imagine you're a parent and you get in the mail when school kicks in, and in the mail is a card for your student. Maybe you got one, maybe you got two, maybe you got three. And we start out with Parent-Teacher Day, and you actually get to meet the teacher. And this card is your allocation for the money that the state is providing for your student's education. So now we have the parent involved in here saying what's in the best interest of their student, their child, buy their supplies right off the bat with that same card, show up at school, meet the teacher. They like the teacher, agree with that, swipe the card, there's their pay for the month, and every month get to review it again. If they're using transportation services, they contribute out of that card their share for that school. And really what they're doing is they're saying and giving approval to the school district that their child is in and being involved in it. And I know some people might like to hear this, but I think the last one out of that card ought to be the school administrators. And maybe that might change some things about accountability, responsibility. So it's just an idea, a little different off the wall than some of the standard things you hear, but whatever it is, I will definitely work at it to make it work.
Thank you. Ms. Ingen.
Again, like I said, I'm very passionate about this subject. I have two boys who are ages 8 and 10, one of them with a learning disability, and I've seen and experienced firsthand the downfall of our education system here. And one of the biggest things that I would like to look at is the voucher system. Not that I want to take the voucher system away. I think it's a good system. However, I don't think it benefits the public schools in that they have to hold a seat for the families who choose, which I believe in choice, because my children go to a charter school as well, and I think that everybody has to pick what is best for their own child. However, I don't think it's prudent to have to leave a spot for a kid who chooses to do that. So I feel like we need to give that money back to the public schools, and that family then says, they sign a waiver saying, hey, I choose this option, and so therefore I give up my seat for my child here, and then that could put some more money back into education. Also, I think it's prudent as well that we really have to look at this teacher situation. I know it's probably an elephant in the room after the whole Red for Ed movement, but however, it's very prudent because, as I said, I have a child who twice now has had a teacher quit halfway through the year because we've lowered the standards of who can teach. Now you can teach in Arizona if you have any degree. You don't need an elementary ed degree. You can be an art teacher or a ballerina teacher, and you can be an educator here, and it's not benefiting our children. I've been in the classrooms with teachers like that, and it takes them a while to catch up because they were not trained on classroom management. So I feel like we really need to invest in our teachers because they're truly the ones who are affecting our kids, and our kids are truly the ones that we all care about, and their education is not being met.
Thank you. Mr. Heap.
I've had a lot of time to look at this and to think about this, and it's an ongoing process, but it's not a difficult one, as I say it. It's a business situation. As I look, we've regulated ourselves and put so many controls on ourselves that we can't even help ourselves. As I look across the room here, I see PhDs, I see master's degrees, I see education to our wildest dreams without education. All valuable. All should be put into the marketplace if you want to share. It's a business situation, supply and demand, and adjust the intelligence of this community and the intelligence and the Seniors are fantastic, and we're underutilized. I could go on for there, but I'd like to talk to you more as an elected official. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia.
Well, it's not enough to just restore the budget, but that certainly is a huge part of it. In order to fix the problems with education, we absolutely need to be fully funded in order to do that. The example we saw recently with the pay bump authorized by the legislature and Governor Ducey, that's a good start, but it's not going to stop there. We need to restore public education at least to the pre-2010 levels, and it's important because a well-educated electorate, that's the strength of who we are as people, as Arizonans, as Americans. I really think that it's a matter of Constitution. It's a matter of the Arizona State Constitution that we provide this for the people of Arizona. I would say happily that I am against expansion of ESA voucher programs. In my view, they do siphon away money from public education, and it's very important that we focus on fully funding that system rather than diverting funds away from it. And as I mentioned, that's not the only fix. I think that we need to focus on early childhood education as well. Full-day preschool, full-day kindergarten and preschool programs that are accessible to everyone are extremely important to our growing strength as a state of Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Steenwyk.
As I said earlier, part of our problem is that we think all of our children should go to college. Somewhere down the road, I remember when I was in high school, they said without a high school degree, you can't get a good job. That was back in the 60s. Then later on, they said you can't get a good job without a college degree. Part of our educational system is a business, and it's poorly managed. How many remember Prop 123 and all the promises the politicians made us? All the teachers were going to get these enormous raises. They didn't get them. This last nonsense they did with a Red for Ed, $100 million. They've now figured out that if they don't fund this properly, it's going to cost us $500 million because of another dumb promise. Because they didn't change the state statutes. Within the state statutes, it's left up to the superintendent as how they disperse the money. So you can promise whatever you want when you're running for office, but when the money gets to that superintendent, he or she decides where the money goes. Not the governor, not the legislature. That needs to be changed. Everybody always talks about the school as a local issue. Well, it is local. Unfortunately, it all takes tax dollars, which aren't all local. So since these people have proven over the decades they aren't honest, they will not give teachers the raises they should have, then you need to take the responsibility away from them because they've misused it. Another thing you need to do is revitalize and reset up the system of the lottery, which the schools get no money from except the colleges do. And the president, what's his name, Fox or whatever, just gave himself an $80,000 a year raise. Not the teachers, the big guy got the money. And the U of A has got buildings they're not even using, and they keep building new ones. The structure is wrong and it's broken. We need to turn it into a purchasing thing. You see things all over this room that are bought. If you would set up a procurement system in this state where everything came through one office like at Walmart or Costco does, you would reduce the cost of all the supplies of schools by at least 30%. You could then take that money and put it into the classroom. You need to have a hiring structure of...
Thank you. Ms. Westbrook.
Well, there's a couple things we should do, and I'm going to tie it back to what I said when I first opened up my speech, is we need to close these corporate tax loopholes. Really, that's the root of all these problems. We can really fix our communities by doing that. I hear a lot of words up here from my colleagues, not a lot of numbers. Let me tell you this. 74% of corporations are able to reduce their income tax liability to less than $50. Our state legislator can't even provide evidence of whether or not Arizona is getting benefits from those tax cuts for corporations. We have legislatures legislators that are owned by corporations. They funnel money to give tax breaks to lobbyists. Yeah, yes. It's a broken system, but we just need to close those tax loopholes. When we do that, we can have more revenue to pay our teachers a living wage. We need to redirect the funds from our voucher system here to the public education system, make sure that schools have equal access to technology so kids can learn the vital tools and information necessary to have the jobs of tomorrow. We need technology classes in classrooms. We need teachers teaching coding in classrooms so our children, when they come out of school, they can go into high-tech jobs here in Arizona and not leave. There's a lot of innovative solutions that we can come up with, and me having a background in web development and computers, I'd like to take the knowledge that I have gained through my years of knowledge and classwork and bring that to the state legislature.
Thank you. And Mr. Bullock, your additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. It's brought up a very good point about schools and paying our administrators too much. Many of the 240 school districts in Arizona actually do overpay from a percentage-wise their administration team. But I would suggest when you're looking to elect somebody, you look at someone who's had success in that area. I worked with the CFO and the superintendent in the Peoria School District for an entire year. We were able to lower our administrative to the lowest for a large school district in the state for both years I was president of the board. We actually won an award from the Arizona Auditor General for excellence in financial reporting and transparency. So I have the experience in actually doing that and helping save money for Arizona and achieving success at the same time.
Thank you. This will be the final question for this round. Again, I invite the audience to submit candidate-directed questions, and we'll be using those in a moment. We'll start with you, Mr. Carroll. What is your position on gun control?
Such an ambiguous question there, my position on gun control. Well, probably in the mix of that thought is about school safety, so I'll just kind of relate it to that and then make it easy. You may not know it, but at one time I was a little kid and I did go to school in Chicago. Long time before it became the murder capital of the world, or at least the United States, let's put it that way. So if I think about things that were such at that time, and if there's things that are the same or different at this point in time here today, for say my grandchildren, in the schools, public schools that I were in, we did not have the incidence of the victim count and bullying and other things that took place that we're really talking about today. At that time, I can tell you for a fact that guns in that day were the same kind of guns that we have had for the past 100 years, the same thing today. The only thing that's changed on them has been the technology of the materials. The NRA is the same group that they were before my parents were born. They're the same group that they are today. And as far as background checks, we didn't have it at that time. We have them currently. So the only thing that's changed in this time here with respect to that is we have different school teachers, we have different school administrators due to retirement. Perhaps we're not carrying on the tradition of teaching kids good values in certain places, certain neighborhoods for reasons otherwise. That wouldn't make sense to me. Background checks, for example, you may not know it, but if you walk into a gun store today and falsely apply for the purchase of a firearm, you will get rejected. However, there's no consequence for committing that felony. And so people walk in, they do this, and they leave because the dealer has no recourse. They can't take any other action than to decline the sale. So in terms of gun control, it doesn't solve anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Ingen, your response, please.
Can you repeat the question again? Was it your stance on gun control?
What is your position on gun control?
So, I don't know, I guess I see this answer as very simple and clear. I support our Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and I support background checks, and I do think that we need to close some of the loopholes that are there in gun shows, and I think the regulations need to be where they are, but I guess that would be my stance on that. I support gun control. or I support the right to bear arms, sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Heap?
I come from a military and police family. And the recommendation that my father he's for the Constitution. And considering he had spent all of his time protecting this country, he just said one thing: be prepared. Everyone, be prepared. We can pass laws, we can pass regulations, we can put safety rules in, amendments. Be prepared. And it's up to you. So I'm for the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia?
Well, I think that the gun control issue in America right now is home focused on school kids. I believe that every child should feel safe at school, and I believe every parent should not have to worry about their children coming home safely from school. So as a matter of public safety, I certainly support common sense gun control. With that being said, I'd like to add that I was raised in a household with a professional sharpshooter. Granddad was a sharpshooter for Winchester Repeating Arms back in the day. And so I understand the gun culture and certainly have respect for the Second Amendment. But I will add that even the NRA members that have been polled concede that 70% of them agree that common sense gun control is certainly acceptable by them and shouldn't be questioned by anybody. It's a no-brainer. Keeping guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them, mentally ill people, for example, who wouldn't want that? It's akin to keeping guns out of the hands of terrorists. We need to close gun show loopholes because the interstate background checks that we should be doing won't work without that. Gun show and internet loopholes and straw purchases are certainly an issue. So these are the kinds of things that I would focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Steenwyk?
Gun control, let's see. If we go back to the initial reason we have the Second Amendment, our founders gave us the ability to own and carry guns, not to go duck hunting, but to actually protect us from a cruel and out-of-control government. That's what the reason was we were given the Second Amendment. I'm all for gun control and logical use for it, but you are not going to legislate morality. Chicago is one of the most rigid cities in the country for gun control, and look at the death rate there. I wish Black Lives Matter would go there, because apparently in that city, Black lives don't count for much. They're killing those kids every day, and they don't even talk about it on the news, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, or even Fox. It doesn't get talked about. Now, I can specifically talk to gun control because I wish we'd have had with some individuals I knew in my life. I've been robbed 3 times. 3 times by guns. Okay? So I wish they didn't have them, but even better yet, I was in California. I wish I would have had one. This country has no regard for life anymore. And that's one of the problems we have. Look at the TV shows you watch. Look at the video games these kids play. Don't tell me that doesn't influence the actions of children and some adults. It does. I love Hollywood saying we need gun control, and then they make billions of dollars making movies that are killing everybody and blowing them up. I didn't grow up with those kind of movies or on TV. I never got to see blood and gun smoke. People got shot, no one ever died. They came back in 2 weeks. But this is what's going on in our society. This country has been demoralized, and they think they can legislate morality. They can't. It's taught in the home and through the churches. And I would say if we would go back to those standards that I was raised with in the 50s and 60s, we wouldn't be having these conversations. When you can kill a child at 20 weeks, does it surprise you that they kill children in school?
Thank you. Ms. Westbrook?
I listened to all of these answers and I didn't hear one thing about domestic violence. The leading cause of fatalities for the hands of a firearm are actually murder-suicides in homes that have a track history of domestic violence. I'd like to see us talk about red flag rules. And when someone has a history of domestic violence, family members should be able to go into that house and take the firearms from that individual. It's protecting their family member and it's protecting the loved ones in that house. I'd also like to see us do something similar to purchasing a car when it comes to private party sales of firearms. If you buy a car, private party in the state of Arizona, in order to get that car put in your name, you have to get it notarized. You have to go to a teller or a bank and record the transaction. I think we need something similar to that when it comes to private party sales. Because right now, you can buy a firearm from a private individual and have it in your hand as quick as someone would like to meet you, and there's no track record of that. There's no accountability of that. I think we need to be smarter when it comes to gun legislation. I don't want to take away guns. I support our Second Amendment, and no Democrat, I know it's a solid talking point, are going to take away your guns. Because we have the Fourth Amendment to protect you from illegal search and seizure, so nobody's going to take your guns. But I think we need to be smarter when it comes to gun legislation and do things like that. I'd also like to see us have extra therapists in our public schools so children can come to a therapist, not a guidance counselor, there's a difference, and talk about some of the issues that they're facing at home. So if they're being bullied, they can actually talk to someone about this so they don't feel the need to take their parent's gun that wasn't properly stored to school and cause the next mass shooting. There's multiple layers to this issue here, and I've looked at multiple layers of it, and there's a lot of different solutions we can come up with, and that's just a few of the ones that I have came up with.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
Thank you. I'm very passionate about this subject because it's so polarizing, and I think it doesn't need to be. Interestingly enough, responsible gun owners don't want irresponsible gun owners to have guns. That's a fact no matter what side of the aisle that you're on. One thing that's not really talked about a lot, and this is what I'm very strong and passionate about, is it's very much a mental health issue as well. I don't know if it's a stigma, public stigma, but we don't want to face that fact. People who do damage and harm are going to harm no matter what. Again, if you're a responsible gun owner, 100% support that. If you're irresponsible gun owner, we don't want you to have a gun. But we have to face the fact that our mental health programs, even though the signs are there, it's interesting, every single shooting that we've seen, school shooting and others in Chicago as well, every one that they actually analyze, excuse me, they have a clear path. Everybody comes out, oh yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Yep, I suspected him. Oh yeah, he was a crazy one, or she was a crazy one. All this warning signs are there. We are afraid as a society to tell somebody, I think you need help, my friend. We're afraid as parents, we're afraid as clergymen, we're afraid as parishioners to honestly say, I think my friend has a problem. Maybe we just don't know how to do it. We need to focus on that primarily. We need to be putting our funding into mental health programs. Because I guarantee you, much like in China where they outlaw guns, what's the number one tool used to kill people? Sabers and knives. They don't use guns. Terrorists now use cars in England where they outlaw guns. We need to be very careful that we're not trampling on Second Amendment rights when really the issue, to a large extent, is the mental health component. I guarantee you that if we as a state lead the nation in correct mental health programs, funding, and reduce the stigma that's associated with that, I guarantee we will also lead the way in a reduction in gun violence. I'm sure of it.
Thank you. And Mr. Carroll, your additional 30 seconds.
Well, I think the best way I could express this is if you went to the doctor for an ailment, would you prefer they diagnose the symptom and treat that, or would you prefer they get to the root cause of the problem and resolve it? So all these that I'm hearing here about statistics and situations such as domestic violence and school shootings and so on and so forth, the gun's just a symptom of the situation. If you really look into it, where's the value of life? Okay, 30 seconds up. Thank you.
Thank you. Goes quick, doesn't it? At this time, we will transition to the second part of the debate where each candidate will receive a separate question with 1 minute to respond. Remember, we are still taking questions via note cards, and we will you can direct them to specific candidates. So Mr. Heap, we are going to start with you. So if elected, how will you represent all families, whether they be traditional families or LGBT families? How will you represent all families from a family value standpoint?
Families are families. It's where it starts. You protect all families. I am the luckiest person in the world. I have my children living here, and I have my grandchildren, and also so what life can't be any better. And I would like to protect them like I would like to protect everyone else. There isn't any difference between one family and another. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ingen, the audience would like you to clarify your opening remarks, please.
So what I was going to, it was hard in that short amount of time to get to the point, but what I was clarifying was I was disappointed in some of my fellow opponents that are running in this Republican race in LD2 and their tactics that they use to try to get me to drop out of the race. So on Saturday, like I said, I received a phone call from a lobbyist who said that he represented 3 candidates that are in District 22 and that he had pulled my signatures and I didn't have enough validated signatures. And so he said I could either, roll the dice and, try and see if I do have enough, or his recommendation was saving face and just telling my supporters that I dropped out because of family or other related issues, which, I understand that this is politics and I guess this is how it goes, but I guess I'm naive into the fact and coming from a nursing background that my own team always supports each other, and regardless if I don't believe with what you believe in, that we would still all be on the same page. We're still all from the same team and that we have each other's backs, but obviously not.
Mr. Carroll, excuse me, let me get the wording of this correct. It is in English, but sometimes they're worded in a way that aren't open-ended questions. So, Mr. Carroll, how would you consider changing the law for food stamps to prevent them to being used at fast food restaurants? And if so, say more about that. So, what is your position around food stamps being used at fast food restaurants? And say more about that.
Well, if you're referencing a healthy diet, that would be something to consider. But the whole concept of food stamps, if you do qualify for them, is that you should be responsibly selecting what you're buying for food to feed your family and yourself. So I'll be honest with you, to answer the question, if you can survive on fast food, I guess if that's your choice, you could do it. But I would expect you to be in the grocery store, quite honestly. Changing the law, micromanaging people's lives, I don't know if that's a good thing to do. So I'll just say right now, I wouldn't change anything in the law that way.
Okay.
Drugs and stuff, definitely. Prevent that from happening, and other things that aren't food related, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock, your question is, what will you do to propose to deal with other areas of the budget that will have to be cut in order to fund the teacher pay raise?
Well, what's interesting is that there really isn't any budget cut related to the 20 by 20. It's actually based on projections of what the economy will be like in the 1920 and the 2021 years, 18, 19, 19, 20 years. So let me use the analogy that concerns me a little bit whenever we're talking about projections. Let me use the example of I want to buy a boat today because I think I'm going to be getting a raise next year. So a little dangerous, because if I get my raise next year, my wife and I will be on the lake and enjoying each other. If I do not get the raise next year, I will have to give the boat back or have to find a way to pay for it another way. So the 20 by 20 that what the governor came out with is actually not going to have to require any budget cuts, provided that the economy continues to grow at the rate that we project it's going to grow. If it does not grow, then what's the first thing you have to scale back is what you gave out. And again, that's near and dear to my heart, funding teachers correctly. But obviously, whatever budget, almost what, 65, 70% of the budget is already spoken to because of referendums. So there's very, very little wiggle room. But again, I would think our projections will be safe.
Thank you. Ms. Westbrook, the audience is curious why you chose not to run as a clean elections candidate.
That's a great question. Well, the decision to run as traditional was a decision I made based on my election results earlier in the year. If you're not familiar, I ran for the U.S. House of Representatives and lost a special election primary to Dr. Harel Tipernini. In that election, we captured the attention of the entire country. A lot of people from around this country and locally were very supportive of my campaign. We did really, really well. Against an opponent that outspent us 10-1, we achieved nearly 40% of the vote. I wanted to keep the people that I had on my campaign as far as my supporters to support my state Senate race to maximize the most I could for fundraising. Because the way the system's set up is the candidate with the most money generally wins the election. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. And with the clean election system, Republicans oftentimes have their campaigns lined by corporations and lobbyists, and it's hard to compete. So I found this is the best avenue to get the most amount of money possible to win.
Mr. Van Steenwyk. Mr. Van Steenwyk. Like bike, right? What are your views on funding for CPS?
My views on funding what?
For CPS, Child Protective Services? CPS?
The last time they decided to do this, they said they were going to fix Child Protective Services. So they moved a bunch of people around like kind of musical chairs. They gave it a little more money and the problem was solved. It hasn't been solved. It's still a mess. They are, some of the CPS thing is actually increasing their way of working. It's kind of like the veterans. The more we can get in here, the more people we employ, the more money we make, and we'll just take kids out of homes, some of which they shouldn't bother to do it. I know a couple that had this done to their grandchildren for no reason at all. A neighbor called someone about something and they went and took the kids. Nothing was going on there. CPS needs structural change. That's what it needs. But I believe most of the government in the state needs structural change. Education, CPS, the procurement process in the schools, the whole school. You couldn't run a business the way this state is run, or most states. You'd go broke, or you'd go to jail.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, your question. Some states are requiring that welfare recipients be drug tested. What is your position on this for Arizona?
Welfare recipients being drug tested. I would think that there would need to be some sort of probable cause to promote such a thing. I would have to certainly look into that a little bit more. If we're showing some sort of pattern of abuse, then absolutely investigation power is needed. At present, I don't necessarily have a platform on that issue.
Thank you. Mr. Heap, what is your position on Prop 305?
Okay, please describe as a 305.
Sir, I do not have any more information than what is your position of Prop 305?
Is it a lot like 301?
I believe it's the expansion of vouchers.
Yeah, the extension of vouchers. For school vouchers, we're talking about. Are you sure? Okay.
305, expansion of empowerment scholarship accounts, according to Ballotpedia.
Okay, the empowerment, the school vouchers. It's a long time coming to have school vouchers. I believe in choice, and school choice is probably my favorite. We have a major private or public school system here, and our federal government and our state work together, and they put together a program, and they have a program down at the ASU, at the center for education where they want to be in 100% in control of all education. And they do not have any question about anything else. I'd like to see all of us have this choice to send our children anywhere we'd like, because there's hundreds and hundreds of education systems out there that can meet that need. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Engen, if elected, what would you do? What would you propose to address lobbyist influence?
Wow. Well, considering I haven't had such a good luck with the lobbyists these past couple of days, I think, all joking aside, I think lobbying is a good thing when it's used for the right reasons. And, you know, that's part of our Constitution as well, and we need that right. We need that right to, you know, speak up and do that. However, it has become corrupt, and I would like to call some of that out, and I would like to, you know, have that addressed. How I would go about doing that, I don't know, because I think it's a very deep system, and I think it's going to take a lot of work, and the only way to kind of combat it is to continue to elect people like myself who have no big pockets, who have no lobbyists, and who truly have your best interest.
Thank you. Mr. Carroll. According to audience member, today's auto insurances for private vehicles do not address liability when the vehicle is controlling itself. So is this a position or is this an issue for state action? What is your position on that? Autonomous driving vehicles and the insurance.
Well, that presents a whole new arena right there when we get into that. Because we're turning around and taking them a computer basically and making it simulate human driver. Now, hopefully it doesn't replicate some of the ones I've seen out there. But that does present an issue there to look at, because who becomes liable when those robots are operating out there in our communities and on the highways? We had a good example of just a test case with the Uber vehicle just recently, and unfortunate that happened. But this is something that we have to address. Now, I don't know specifically what I'm going to say is going to be the answer to the solution to it. That's something we have to talk with industry. We have to talk with our constituents as well, because just like your private insurance that you own on your automobile, it's the question of whether it's adequate for the situation. So there's definitely something to be made in regards to regulation and liability with autonomous vehicles. So I'll be looking forward to addressing that.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock, what is your position for work requirements on AHCCCS eligibility and why? What is, I believe is that access?
Yeah, access, right.
Yeah. So what is your position of work requirements for those on access or to gain access eligibility, and explain your position?
Sure. If you are capable of working, you should be working. And it's interesting is that a lot of times gets marred in the fact, well, that's not fair, I've heard that, or unduly on the people who aren't access. But quite honestly, and I'm a strong believer in this because I've been a business owner for 27 years and seen ups and downs, made money, lost money. If we are not giving people a chance to work, which is a fundamental right and a fundamental opportunity to have self-worth and increase self-worth, I think we're cheating ourselves. Anybody on access who has the opportunity to work, there are a lot of projects that we can work on at a state level and a city level. I honestly believe that will help not only build self-esteem, but it will help them also education. I'm very much into workforce development to bring people back to productive citizens. And I guarantee you, if you asked anybody who's on access or food stamps or WIC, you said, if we were able to give you workforce opportunities and training, would you like to be out working, or would you like to be going and collecting benefits if you're able-bodied? Every one of them would say, just about, would say, I would rather be out working and making a living and providing for my family. I fully support that opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Westbrook, what is your position on the role of labor unions in Arizona, a right-to-work state?
If elected, I will vote to repeal the right-to-work laws here in the state of Arizona. I am very supportive of unions. I am endorsed by the Communication Workers of America. That was my most recent endorsement, actually. Without unions, we wouldn't have 40-hour work weeks. We wouldn't have paid time off. We should be allowing employees to unionize so they have a voice against some of these corporations and actually can negotiate the best terms available for them to have a living wage and have health care for their families. So I'm very supportive of workers' unions, and I will vote to repeal our right to work laws here in the state of Arizona.
Thank you. Mr. Van Steenwyk, your question is, with all the development in the West Valley, how can we preserve our water and water rights?
Well, one really good way to preserve our water and water rights is to stop planting everything that comes from everywhere else in the country. It fascinates me to watch people landscape here, and they put in bushes from every state in the country, and then they wonder, I tell them, you water the bush, then you pay the gardener to trim the bush, and you pay this guy to haul the stuff away. You're using water you don't even need to use. We need to become more intelligent about what we do in the West Valley. For one thing, allergies in this state have gone through the ceiling since this nonsense has been started. Our water rights need to be protected. EBCOR is a perfect example of a company gone nuts from Canada with the help of the Corporation Commission to raise the rates in Sun City West, Youngtown, and Sun City, saying that they need to rebuild infrastructure of pipes that are breaking when they're not. I was in the piping business when I was younger. Clay pipes are designed to last between 150 and 200 years. Even Sun City isn't that old yet.
Thank you. And this will be the last question before we go to closing statements. Ms. Garcia, what is your position on a committee to oversee the monies coming from casinos, lottery, et cetera?
My position to oversee monies coming from casinos
To have
and
a committee to oversee monies coming from casinos, lottery, et cetera.
Well, I'm all about transparency, and if we're talking about private business, I'm not really sure how that equates. Certainly, with the new ability to openly gamble, it would probably be fairly prudent.
Okay. At this point in time, we will go to our closing statements. Mr. Heap, we will start with you. 1 minute, please.
Conclusion. So we can start with the conclusion?
Your closing statement,
Okay, my conclusion.
we'll start with you, and you have 1 minute.
Again, I'll say, my name is John Heap, running for House of Representatives, LD 22. I pledge my support to you and also the Constitution of the United States. My website is johnheap.com, and please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Engen, your closing statement.
Thank you. Again, I just ask, I think it's great that you're here and you're listening and learning more about the candidates, but I just still encourage you to do your due diligence and connect the dots. I failed to tell you that as a nurse, I do great research as well, and when I did research this lobbyist, several articles came up about him that said that he was sleazy and slimy and corrupt. And these are not my words. These are from the articles I read about him. And I just want you to truly think, do you really want to elect someone who aligns with this person who's helping on their campaign and uses these tactics? And then finally, I just want to say that I just am here for the people and for my constituents. And one thing I do know, I don't know if my signatures will be revoked or not, but one thing I do know is that I have a good God and a great God, and he has a plan and a purpose, and I feel like his purpose and plan will be revealed, and I'd be happy with that.
Thank you. Mr. Carroll.
For me, this election cycle is about the individual constituents in this district, the families that make it up, the children of those families, and their rights and their responsibilities that go along with it, and I would support that fully in winning the legislature. It's about keeping the taxes low. It's about growing the economy in the West Valley here, in fact, the whole state, and keeping that momentum going so that we can survive those ebbs and flows in our revenue stream that results from that, and keeping the regulations to the minimum. We have some water issues to address, but they are all solvable. We have technology at the forefront here that, when applied appropriately, will enhance and improve our lives here, and I'm all for that. So just go to myvotecarol.com. If I know there's not enough time here to cover all the questions or issues you may have, but please contact me, ask your question. I'll be happy to respond through that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock, your closing statement.
I'd like to change the thought process a little bit. We've all been very active in elections and campaigns and politics for decades. I would like you to think about hiring your next House of Representatives members instead of electing. And if you look at the mantra of hiring somebody, who would you hire? And I would purport that I'm a good candidate to be hired, because what are the things that are facing our state right now? Economic development, being seen by the rest of the country as a destination for economic development. I've done that with my years in business and creating hundreds of jobs. Education as a forefront. Funding education correctly, not overfunding it and not underfunding it. Workforce development, career and technical education. I've done those and had success at it with a lot of good people helping me. And of course, the technology and cybersecurity. There really are no candidates, and there really are no legislators right now at the state capitol who have cybersecurity and technology experience. Again, not that that's the be-all and end-all, but we need to be, as we go headstrong in our digital economy, we do need somebody who understands that and can help legislate that correctly. Again, my website, mattbullockaz.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Westbrook.
As your elected official, I will continue to honor my commitment to take no corporate PAC money. My votes reflect the constituents of Legislative District 22. I will also have an open door policy, even to the people who do not vote for me. Our current representation only listens to one side of the story. I want to be a leader for all people, regardless if you have a D or an R next to your name. I want to represent you and the issues that matter to you. I would like to move Arizona's education system to become one of the top 5 in the nation, and I will honor that commitment each day I'm in office to make that happen. I will work to protect healthcare access and expand coverage for mental health, as well as senior programs and facilities. I will work to modernize our infrastructure so all Arizonans can remain thriving and economically secure for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Steenwyk.
As Matt said, should you choose to hire me for the Senate job, one of the things I definitely intend to do is change some laws when it comes to lobbyists working on campaigns, because what they're doing to Kelly irritates me to no end. My wife and myself actually helped her get a number of her signatures. And for those of you who don't know this, originally I started running for the House when I was asked to chip and run for the Senate against Mr. Livingston. Right here are 1,040 signatures for the House. I didn't need to run against Livingston. I already had the signatures. We had to go back out and get another 1996. If I could, I'd give these to Kelly so these people couldn't do what they're doing to her. I don't know how we expect to have good government when we pick on people that are just trying to start out to help us. On a table outside, I have this brochure with a bunch of legislation that my opponent has sponsored and passed. The National Popular Vote, Prop 123, which was found to be illegal, this new 10 for Red Deal, and a number of other things. We need to understand we can't keep electing the same people over and over again and expect a different result. We're not going to get it.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia.
Well, thank you very much. Look, restoration of our system of government checks and balances is a big issue for me. With dark money narratives speaking louder than people, I think we need to focus on issues that address that. And as such, I'd really like to thank the Citizens Clean Election Commission for doing everything that they do, including tonight's forum. I am a clean elections candidate, and by that virtue, I cannot and will not accept 1 penny of corporate PAC money or money from wealthy corporations. My campaign, it's funded by 240 individuals of Legislative District 22, and the funds that this wonderful commission grants for matching. So I think in closing for me, it's a big thank you. Thank you to the commission, and thank you to the folks of LD22.
Thank you. To our candidates, we thank you so much for participating in this forum. And to our audience members, we thank all of you who took time to come and inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to visit www.azcleanelections.gov voter dashboard for a customized experience to find information on the primary election, the candidates, the issues, and to view this debate and other debates on demand. Please fill out the debate evaluation form and return it to one of our volunteers. Your feedback is important to the commission and will help improve future debates. Thank you all for coming. You're welcome to stay and speak directly to the candidates. Good night.